Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Amy Q. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are going to be talking about some advice from Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. Rates creeping down a little bit, the stats behind the mortgage lock-in effect as people make the decision, am I going to do something now or am I going to wait until next year? This happens all the time during the third and fourth quarter. And there was a Philadelphia suburban iconic restaurant that closed. I'm a little sad about this, Amy. I don't know about you. And we've also got a very late budget for the state of Pennsylvania that might be having some impact on education that we're going to discuss, and we've got some killer new listings coming to the market as well. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team and Amy in particular to talk about should you wait or are 5% mortgage rates coming back, you can do that by clicking on the link in the comments. So Amy, I'm curious what you thought here about seeing this advice from Kevin O'Leary. So if you don't know who Kevin O'Leary is, do you watch Shark Tank?
I do.
Yeah.
I know him well.
Well, I like what I like about him is that he's very to the point. I mean, he's obviously had a lot of successful companies, but he doesn't mix words with folks when they come on the show. Because there's a lot of people in there. Obviously, you're there for a reason. Sometimes you need to hear you got a bad idea, right?
That's why they call him Mr. Wonderful.
Well, he's very one. I like him. I mean, he's a strange guy, but he's great for TV. But he's also very successful. So he made this post. And he basically said it was a reel that was on there. We'll play the clip maybe, but he said, will mortgage rates ever go below 5% again? And to give some perspective here, how many times do you have people tell you they're waiting for rates to come down? I'm hoping for something closer to 5%.
Every day.
Every day. So how many times a day?
About half my phone calls.
Half your phone calls.
Yeah.
So with this 10 conversations a day, 20 conversations?
So if I'm having 20 to 25 conversations a day, at least 8 to 10 people are saying that.
Okay. So, I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of people that are doing that. And that's one of the challenges for real estate agents right now. It's also challenging for consumers because no one really knows what's going to happen, right? So Kevin O'Leary gave some pretty clear advice. I think it's going to take a very, very long time for that to happen, if ever. I think the days of free money are over. Why is that? I think the economy is moving into a more productive phase. It's one of the reasons the indexes or indices are at new highs, driven by AI. I think the economy is stronger than people think. Tariff issues will be gone by the end of the year, and they'll settle in 10 to 15%. I'm bullish on what's going to happen in productivity, and I just don't see interest rates in the U.S., the world's strongest economy, being dropped dramatically. So agree or disagree? I mean, are we ever going to see 5% mortgage rates again?
5% might be a possibility, but I think he's right. Something major has to happen. A big pandemic or the crash of '08. Those were the other times we really saw a change. I think anything in the lower fives is going to be fantastic for the next, 5-10 years. I mean, I just don't see it happening unless something major happens.
Well, the experts agree with you, Amy. NAR 2026 prediction, 6.0%. Fannie Mae, end of the year in 2026, 6.0%. Mortgage bankers, 6.5 to 6.6% by the end of the year. Freddie Mac's at 6%. National Association of Home Builders, just above 6. Wells Fargo, mid-6. Yahoo Finance, 6.2 to 6.4 for 2027, implying similar results for 2026. So a lot of people are on the same page. The predictions this year, which I did not believe, were that we were going to see interest rates hit 6.34%. Well, we're pretty much there at this point. Now, things can change. We still got 90 days left in the year, roughly. So the people tend to agree. And so let's talk about advice and historical context. What advice do you give people when they say they're going to wait for rates? What do you tell them? You're in this conversation all the time.
It's a little tough, but it can get a little complicated for buyers. Some advice, lower rates attract more people who've been sitting on the sidelines. So by spring, you could be competing with a flood of other buyers. And then more competition equals bidding wars, higher prices, tougher negotiations. So while you might be saving a few $100s a month, it could also cost you the home you really want in the long run.
Hmm.
So if we could talk a little bit more about a comfortable monthly payment, that might get them more interested in what they can look for and accomplish their goal a lot sooner.
Yeah, and I think that's really sound advice because Ryan Serhant said you can't renegotiate the price or go back in time and buy the house. Like, do you have a DeLorean over at your home? You know what a DeLorean is? The Back to the Future car. You know what I'm talking?
Oh.
You can't go back in time and buy the house again, right? I mean,
You can't. And they often say, I didn't buy the one I loved,
Mhm.
thinking I should see a few more, and then you circle back and it's gone. And it could take another 8 to 9 months to find that house.
I had one client that happened to, and they didn't act soon enough on this home, and then it came back on the market. They bought it right away, and this
Oh,
was
that was good.
that's one
Doesn't
out of
always happen.
4,000 sales that I know of where that happened, where they had a second chance at a house, and
Yep.
that's I mean, and they had to wait years. I mean, years. So
Right.
when you look at it that way, I think you got to be careful that a lot of people probably are waiting. And when Kevin O'Leary was asked point blank if mortgage rates will ever drop below 5%, I don't think so. I think it's going to take a very, very long time for that to happen. And then he talks about the days of free money. So you really got like two options if you're a buyer. So I think one is adjusting expectations. So when you talk with people about that, they say, I can't afford the home that I want.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you've had that conversation. People buy homes anyway.
They do.
Right? So
Yep.
what kind of thought process did they go through? How did they get there? I know what's worked for myself, but I want to hear from you because you're in the field.
So are you asking how they end up switching?
So they go from, hey, I can't afford what I want,
Yeah,
to, hey, I'm at the settlement table buying something, Amy. Thanks for all your hard work.
so it so many different situations. Sometimes it's as simple as like a gift from mom and dad, and
Okay.
sometimes they really just, like, we sit down and we have a strategy session and we say what's going to help you get where you need to be. And I really put reality into perspective for them. There's no perfect home. So make your list, what is going to be an absolute game changer and what can you kind of cave on. And then we end up going out and we might change that search slightly, and then it brings up some more options and they end up seeing like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought.
And well, I think that's spot on, right? Is that you have to adjust a little bit. And there's a couple different ways you can adjust. Because what I found, and tell me what you think,
Mm-hmm.
there's two kinds of buyers. Buyers that want to buy a neighborhood or they want to buy in a certain area, and buyers that want a certain type of house. And they're not always the same person, right? So someone
Sure.
may want like a newer home and they're willing to go to different locations to do that. And there's others that they prioritize the neighborhood. And
sure.
so, I mean, if they're chasing the house or chasing the neighborhood, well, if you're chasing the house, you got to go look somewhere else. You may not be able to buy in the main line. You might need to go further west or
Yep.
in a little bit of a more rural location. For the people chasing the neighborhood, sometimes you got to buy a home that needs some work. Maybe you're okay doing some projects because you want to get into this certain neighborhood and know that you can't afford the redone home. You talked about adjusting expectations and how they're buying it. I think a gift from family is a great option to look at, but that's not available to everybody.
Not everybody.
In fact, not most people. I would venture to say that's what adjusting expectations means. And what agents can do, what would it take for you to not look at homes in this adjacent town or this different school district? Because if you got kids in private school, you may think you want to live in a certain area, but the school district's not as important. You get more bang for your buck in an adjacent school district. So
Sure.
that's that's really important. When you look at financial health, how often are they looking at I want my payment to fall in a certain range?
Almost always.
Okay.
Almost always. They're, hey, I don't want to go above X
Mm-hmm.
because that is our comfort zone. And a lot of times, if, a partner may disagree or agree, and these are all the things we kind of work through together. It's funny how I see them kind of grow together and find what they like. But I have a buyer this week that
Mm-hmm.
I happen to take out, and she was like, she's finally gotten down to, I'm going to renovate this kitchen
Mm-hmm.
because I'm never seeing what I want, but I need the neighborhood, right? Chasing the neighborhood, kind of what you mentioned. And that's what she decided. I'm going to do a little bit more work.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, like you said, everybody has to come to the realization, what can I do? How can I make my adjustments to get what I want?
And I think that's also part of looking for a home. I mean, how often do buyers tell you they want one thing? I want to be walkable, right in downtown media. Well, there's like 10 houses that come on the market a year. But this is what people say, right? And I want to be on this particular street, but then they don't even know the other streets that are available, and a good agent's exploring those options with them. So looking at other options, I think, is really important. That's really good advice from Kevin O'Leary here, adjusting expectations. Maybe you're buying a smaller home in a neighborhood you want, and you know that there's homes in that neighborhood that have big additions. You probably see properties like this all the time where there's like one or two capes and all these big single family homes around there that are two-story colonials. Well, maybe they want to add on to it later. The thing I think people want to think about is there's a basic rule of financial health where only about 1/3 of your after-tax cash flow should go towards a mortgage. Now, a lot of buyers break this rule, and they go to like 50 or 60%. I think because they want to afford a nicer home. And if you believe your income's going to grow, that may be how you have to adjust your expectations, right? Imagine you're in your like 30s, right? And I just got promoted. I don't have all this cash yet, but I can handle the payment right now versus someone that's on the back end of their career. They may not feel the same way. So it just depends on where you're at with your earning potential. Yeah. And I think that's where you got to be careful not to be too vulnerable, but that's a decision people make all the time. Now, what he also says, and tell me if you think this is wrong, buyers holding out for rates under 5% are likely to be disappointed. And that's not even the worst part. Waiting could cost these folks opportunities to find the right home for them, take advantage of available cost-saving concessions, including like a mortgage buy-down or a PHFA loan or a lower, some of these lower down payment options, and not build equity. And one of the examples that was used in this article, and I go back to 2020, this is a great point. The buyers who got out of the gate and got out of the house in May of 2020 and bought something right away, they were the early movers. They got a pretty good price on those properties before everyone jumped into the market. The people that waited just 6 months, 7 months, let's call it, because it was May,
took off.
They got a great rate, but they did significantly worse on the price when home values were going up 1% a month, which is unheard of growth. And then the early movers in 2020. So are you finding yourself in that conversation right now with some folks that are saying, I want to wait till the spring, but there's opportunities to be had in the market right now. And that's the balance of being a good advisor versus someone that makes people feel pushed. And there's a fine line here.
Right. I think he's absolutely right. You have to focus. If that monthly payment isn't good enough for you because they're thinking it's going to get lower. They're predicting 2 more drops by 2020, beginning of 2026. Nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. But now you're waiting, kind of like what I said before, for a spring that has more competition. Now your payment's going up. You've worked so hard at keeping that because now prices are going up. Bidding wars, tougher negotiations, all of that. So if I educate them on that, they tend to, you're right. I'm working with somebody we met with a few weeks back, and their goal was maybe first quarter of next year. Well, already, let's go look at homes. Because when they hear things like that, they're like, ooh, this could get real. And then I'm spending another $20,000, $30,000 maybe in the spring. Because if we follow the pattern, nobody knows what's going to happen. But look at the growth since 2020. If it continues just one more spring, things are going up.
Well, I think that's a really valid point. And this is all going to be local to market. So obviously we're in the greater Philadelphia area. We're in a competitive market right now when it comes to finding homes and sellers and for buyers. So when you look at, and you're talking about these rate cuts, right? Well, so right now we're at coming in at 400 to 425 on the target federal funds rate. There's a 96.7% chance we see a 25 basis point cut in at the October meeting. For the December meeting, we're seeing a 77.7% chance we end up 350 to 375, which would be 50 basis points lower than where we are right now, which is basically what the Fed said. I've got news for everyone waiting for the Fed to make the move. The investors are smarter than the Fed, and they've already priced this into rates. Because did rates go up or down after they made the last cut? They actually ticked up a little bit.
They ticked up
and a lot because Jerome Powell decided to say dumb stuff after the meeting and didn't get real with what was going on, and that caused the markets to react more than the actual policy. So that's why I wouldn't bank on these rate cuts doing anything, because any smart investor is paying attention. They're already priced in, you got to be careful with that. I mean, are buyers getting that right now that you're talking to? It sounds like some are and some aren't.
Exactly. Like you'll try to educate and talk and talk and talk, and some just disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you're going to do about it. But the only thing we can do is take all of our education and kind of educate the consumer and see if that helps. I know the ones that do get it really, really appreciate, settlement date.
Mm-hmm.
And they're glad they stuck with their plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's absolutely right. And what we're seeing here is that that's something that they're actively. You have to look at this here. I mean, I think you just got to get real with the facts. So now rates are what they are doing is they're getting closer to 6%. And there's if you look at kind of how they've trended, I mean, we're way below where I think a lot of people thought we would be right now. And I don't know if there's going to be much movement after this year. I think we're going to be kind of stuck in this like low 6% range for a while.
I agree.
If competition picks up, if pricing picks up when you get into the spring, that can obviously, cause, it causes that to, that these rate cuts, they're not going to really do a whole lot. So do you feel like people are still kind of locked in? Like, what are you seeing there? Because there is some data out there that the lock-in effect might be easing, meaning that people got these lower rates and they don't want to move based on Kevin O'Leary's advice. I've got some data here I'll share, but what are you hearing in the trenches right now?
Are you talking the 3%?
Yeah, I've got a 3%. I don't want to move. I got 4%. I don't want to move.
Yeah, I have a huge there's a group of people that you're never going to make them happy with anything above 3%.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, I tell them over and over and over again, we have to see something major, right? We talk about that all the time. I just don't see it happening for the next, 10 years. People think I'm crazy. But there's a group of people and every time, like when everything went down 2 Fridays ago and we were so excited amongst our team and I called all my people and there was still a good percentage of them that were like, it's tough for me to give up my 2.8, my 3.2. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but what is more important? It's usually the people that have a life event that is a little bit more willing to make a change. So they're like, I like that 3%, I'm going to stay put. But if, my wife's due and we're having our third child, I got to move. Or, I'm getting relocated. What choice do I have? I've had all of those. Or so, my daughter needs a better school. She's turning 5 and it's time, like we got to get out. So when you have a life, like an event or a lesson in their life that they're like, this is it. Like we need to make this change. They're more receptive to what I'm saying. But that group of 3%ers, definitely there is that club, the 3% club. They don't want to change anything.
So let me give you the data here because again, it's you look at where homeowners fall with the lock-in effect, and I think this is good news for people looking to buy a home. So in 2022, there was 92.7% of all homeowners had a mortgage rate below 6%. That number's dropped to 80.3% in through the second quarter of 2025. Below 4%. The numbers moved from 65.1% in Q1 of 2022 to 52.5% in Q2 of 2025. And then below 3, we're at 24.6 in 2022, now 20.4%. So we're seeing a lot of movement there. Now, the interesting thing is the biggest deltas are people, we're seeing a 12% drop roughly below 6, a 15% drop below 5, and then a 13% drop below 4. And I think what you're going to see is that, to your point, life is going to outweigh the rate. And that's a tough thing for people to go through because they're going to hold on as long as they can. And there's more people deciding it's worth moving, even if it means giving up a lower mortgage rate, because life doesn't stand still. And I think that's when you ask yourself, like, am I looking for the right home? Am I finding the right thing for me? It's what's better for my household? What's better for my family? What's better for me? Not what's my mortgage rate. Because remember, the magic formula, we've talked about this, is the home works for you. You can be there the next 5 years and the payment fits, right? That's really what you got to be looking at, in my view. I mean, is that the kind of folks you're seeing that are the ones pulling the trigger right now?
Yeah, last week it was a mom, her and her husband, but she comes out and looks at all the properties first and their daughters are done. Like they're out. They're, one's last year in college. The other one got her job, moved out. They're not coming back. She's dying to downsize. So it's always something. The other family that is willing to make that change is having a baby, in December. It's always something. Life doesn't stop, and whatever's going to make their life easier, they're going for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really what you have to look at. I mean, I think you got to make sure it's going to be the right move for you. And that's what I'd be listening for if I'm a buyer right now, because it's very easy to get caught up in rates aren't cooperating and, can I time this better, or rates aren't coming back down to 5%. We're also seeing wages grow right now faster than rents and mortgage payments, which is welcome news for the affordability crisis.
Wow.
And I mean, you look at that, wages are up 4.1% year over year. Mortgage payments are only up 0.2%. And asking rents are up 2.6%. This is according to a Redfin report. And this is wages have outpaced rents in September, but they've been consistently ahead of mortgage payments since February of 2025. So it's consistently here. And I think that's going to cause some people to move a little bit too, because you get to a point where it's like rate growth versus wage growth versus like where the payments are. And when you saw rates jump, that kind of caused affordability to be a challenge. So are you seeing more people? The market's loosening up a little bit? Are you seeing more people? I mean, I'm tending to feel it, and I think we're really going to see it come Q1. But we're starting to see the early signs here, in my view, and this is a good piece of data to follow.
Well, I couldn't believe it. That was a shock to me that the wages are up 4.1%, and asking rents 2.6, like crazy to me. So yeah, do we see it? I think it's such early signs.
Mm-hmm.
To see wages outpace since September. I mean, yeah, I didn't see it. And then there it was, like it just creeps up on you and people are like, I'm ready. I got to get out. The last 5 calls were people who were renting looking to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I guess you will see it's there. That's what's happening with these mortgage payments becoming a little more tasteful, I guess.
Well, and that to me is the segment you really want to pay attention to, because if you look at asking rents, they're up 2.6%. That's way ahead of where mortgage payments are going.
Mm-hmm.
And that number's never going to go down. Plus, you're paying a mortgage. You're just paying somebody else's mortgage. So with wages growing, that might bring some more buyers to the market, which may not be what we need in the Northeast, but in places like Florida and Texas and other markets, this is a real positive because affordability has been a challenge for a lot of people.
And this Redfin is nationwide, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so you're going to see that. That's great. Yeah, that's great. I hope we see a bigger change come this spring.
So there's a lot of positives that I see here heading into the market. So we get to what we started with, which is the cost of waiting, or should I wait, or what should you wait for? So you get someone that's on the fence. What advice are you giving to that buyer or that seller right now? Because I'd imagine there's a lot of people listening that they don't know what to do. They're seeing all these headlines. There's some conflicting stuff. Well, wage growth is up. Rates aren't going to come down, but they're starting to come down, but I don't really know what to do. How do you advise that person, Amy? You're a pro in the field. You're doing this every day. What's the real news they need to hear?
It depends on their situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tricky to lump everybody together. I listen to what is their motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I always go back to this very important point, because we are in September, like starting October. If you wait, you're going to save a few $100s now, but it can cost you the home you really want. And, we're up, our inventory's up, 20% month over month. And the lower rates could definitely get you a little bit more. So if you wait, this is going to attract more people who are sitting on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're right back to what I said before. More competition, higher prices, tougher negotiations. Those are the tough conversations I'm having with everybody.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think that's where you need to get informed about what's going on in the market. See what's actually happening locally, because there's nationally, the market's all very different.
Mm-hmm.
The greater Philadelphia area is different than Boston or New York or Florida or California. So there's a lot of good things to talk about here. I'm very optimistic where the market's headed. It seems like there's some relief on affordability. There's more inventory coming to the market. And there could be a little bit of a run here for real estate professionals that are listening. So we'll see as things continue to develop in the fourth quarter. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and there's 2 things I wanted to hit on locally. And then we've got 2 great new listings coming to the market this week that we'll talk about. The first is that I would say an iconic suburban restaurant is closing, or it's closed, it's done. And the PA budget's 3 months late. And we're going to talk about what that means for some of the counties that are being affected next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB-AM 860. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Amy Q. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at Remax Mainline, the number one Remax team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about Iron Hill Brewery. Shocking that this closed. And I know you've got a restaurant background with your family, Amy, so I'm curious to get your take on that. And the PA budget's 3 months late, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this and understanding what exactly it means. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team, and you can do that with the link in the comments, and we can talk about how any of this might affect your real estate decisions, and you can get connected directly with killer agent Amy Q. So let's start off with Iron Hill. This was really shocking. I mean, anyone that knows media or Westchester, Delaware, or Chester County, the Iron Hill Brewery, I mean, I would call that like a staple of suburban dining. They just closed all of a sudden on Thursday of last week, like out of nowhere. They have 15 breweries, and like I feel for the employees. I mean, the customers, that stinks, but there's people that's their livelihood, and they had to file for bankruptcy. Apparently, they had financial difficulties and ongoing challenges, and the company made the decision to file for bankruptcy and closing its doors permanently. And some of the employees said they lost their jobs without warning. What do you think about this, Amy? I mean, I know your family's been in the restaurant business. Iron Hill Brewery, especially in media in Westchester, I mean, those were like staples of people that would go to those areas. Sad, really.
It's so sad. I think about it, even raising my two older daughters, like we would go on a Friday night, or it was just, even they could recite some of the menu they loved. I don't know, it becomes this like hometown staple. I love how they picked these strategic towns to be a part of. But to have these poor employees walking in and saying, you're done for the day, go home, your job's over. Many people were even couples, some girlfriends and boyfriends together saying, oh, yeah, like we're out of a job. It's just sad. It's just a sad chapter to see go. It's not the first time, I know, but just so many of them took up so much real estate in so many great towns. I feel it's a big one. I think it's a big hit, and a lot of people feel it.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a social media tease that they may eventually return, because I imagine it's not as simple as we're just closing the doors. Like, they got leases, like, I mean, there's equipment there. I mean, there's a lot of things to unwind. Obviously, restaurants are very difficult to run, and I think there's a high failure rate.
Big time.
Not as high as real estate, but it's high, and it's a challenge. I mean, and you're relying on so many people, and when you find good people, you win. But I think that's the hardest part, is that now all these people are out there. Now, there is a company called Stove and Company. They're another local restaurant group. They're doing something pretty cool. They're taking Iron Hill gift cards in exchange for a $25 gift card at their company, and they've got a bunch of different places. So I think that's a really cool thing to do for the community. But I don't think there's going to be. This was a place that I think was one of those like iconic like suburban restaurants, and it wasn't like a chain, even though they had 15 different locations. I think a lot of people were really shocked by this. I mean, that's the reaction I saw across the board.
A lot of businesses, like when you're talking restaurants, they close within their first 5 years. If they're going to have a fail, they're going to have it within the first 5 years. What I think is so shocking to so many, me included, is that they were a staple that seemed busy all the time, always had their following, like it's Iron Hill. So that's what's shocking. I think if they were going to fail off the bat, it would have been the first few years. To have such an organization. So you were saying, they have leases, they have equipment, but if you file Chapter 11, you're good with all of that.
I've never filed Chapter 11, so I mean, you probably have a better feel than I do, just having a restaurant background. Not that you've done that either, to be very clear. But I mean, they had like. They had like Oktoberfest set up. Like I remember taking my kids there, and in media we met some friends, and like that's always like a fun time to go to any sort of brewery, because like you get some fall food and all that stuff. And then they just posted this on Instagram. It was 5 days ago, and said, "Hey, after many wonderful years, we're closed. We hope to return in the future. And when we do, we promise to welcome you with open arms." But I mean, there's no guarantee that happens, and a lot of time, I mean, it's expensive running these places. I mean, they had some killer locations. Think about where they were located in Westchester and media specifically. It's just really sad to see something like this happen. And it wasn't for lack of business. I mean, obviously, I think that's where
That's where it gets tough to understand.
People don't get, and the margins are really small.
It is. It is. Something that big, because you have your kitchen managers, you have your chefs, it just spreads so thin.
Mhm.
But I wonder if there was something like, there was another predominant business close by that sold, and he was able to get away with not paying vendors for so many months. So now your food's being delivered weekly. You're not paying them. You're not paying staff, your payroll. And all of a sudden, you're walking away with a little bit of a nest egg
Mhm.
because you saw this coming.
Yeah.
Filing Chapter 11 gets you out of everything. So just what was it about that management that went south? What happened there? We'll never really know. But that's where it can get sticky. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. Just a lot of times with big corporations like this, it's a little deeper than it looks.
Well, and then they said in their letter to the from the leadership team to the employees that there was ongoing financial challenges. So this was not like something that just kind of happened. And they processed their final payroll on the 25th. They're mailing paper checks, and then there was obviously like benefits and 401k and stuff like that. So I mean, it's all.
Well, at least they're doing that.
I mean, I've seen people get screwed in these situations, so I do appreciate. It looks like they're trying to at least do the right thing, but it's tough when a business fails. And a lot of business owners, they don't get business training. They don't know how to run the books. They don't know how to look at the numbers, and it becomes very challenging for a lot of folks. And a lot of people don't get that. And I mean, we see that all the time in real estate, where there's agents selling all these houses. They have no idea how much money they made for the year. So it's unfortunately a lesson here for a lot of business owners listening that you got to get a handle on your books. So speaking of getting a handle on the books, our state's got a little bit of a challenge right now. So Pennsylvania. And I mean, this is wild to me. Lawmakers had a June 30th deadline to pass the 25-26 budget for Pennsylvania. The budget's over 90 days late. Nothing's been passed. And now you've got school programs, county agencies that depend on state and federal pass-through money are in jeopardy. And there's representatives from Pennsylvania school boards and county commissioners getting involved. And they basically said late budgets are going to come with real impacts. Imagine trying to plan your own personal budget without a complete picture of your income, or trying to pay all your own bills without as much as 70% of your income. That's the position school districts find themselves in because of this year's late state budget. And there's no surprise, there's a partisan deadlock because politicians can never agree on anything. There's no common sense there.
Big surprise.
Yeah. And school districts and counties are going to have to borrow money to keep programs running or reduce services. So, when you look at the impact here, there's education, right? I mean, some school, we're pretty, I think, fortunate to be in a area with a lot of well-funded public school districts. But Susquehanna Township, as an example, they have financial uncertainty, and they might have to cut some educational programs. You got social services. So think about this: foster care reimbursements, senior centers. These are the things that are affected. Closing parks. Then you've got mental health and safety nets. That there's a lot of state mental health services, including like students facing crises like domestic violence at home, being homeless. I mean, this is all real time stuff. Can you believe we're at this point 90 days later?
I don't know. I mean, we can't help them in a country that needs all the help they can for mental health. And yet here we are, we're okay with fighting, 90 days. And as a mom, I told you before, it just breaks my heart. There's schools out there where children can't get lunches if they cut this, and healthcare, and this is awful. And I happened to listen to the 12 o'clock news as I was driving in, and there they are fighting again. Both sides just saying, there is going to be a shutdown and they're blaming each other because so and so is not going to agree, and this one's coming at us with the wrong information. And I know it's a pipeline dream to think that they can come together and actually resolve this, but 90 days is a long time. And I just feel for everybody who is going to really hurt from this.
Well, and you're looking at some essential services here that people really count on. And the frustrating part is that it's become partisan. So, I mean, for families, you got to worry about essential services. We talked about them. maybe, I mean, they're going to have to get this money from somewhere. I mean, I'd hate to see like real estate taxes get raised or something, but there is financial pressure on a lot of counties right now where the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania warns that some of them may raise property taxes to cover budget shortfalls. Now, that's one component of the property tax because you got your county. Typically, it's county, township, municipality, whatever that is, whether it's a borough or maybe even a city, and then school district. And that's coming directly from the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. And now the school districts may need to borrow money to maintain operations. So that adds more interest, right? You know who pays for all this? It's the people that live here. And this is the problem. And I mean, the SEPTA cuts, like that was part of this budget impasse. Now they came up with a solution there, but people were like missing on like doctor's appointments, not able to get to work. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of things there, and especially like think about like the senior centers and those sort of state facilities. I mean, that's a real problem. And you'd like to see a sense of urgency here.
And I don't know what it's going to take. This can get bad. Welfare agencies. I don't know. I mean, I wish me and you could go in and solve the problem. Tom and Amy are on their way.
We'd be able to negotiate, hopefully. Pennsylvania is one of 2 states without an approved budget right now.
That's crazy.
It's us and Michigan. And unfortunately, the last time we were in a group with Michigan was when real estate was non-essential in 2 states. It was Pennsylvania and Michigan. This was back in 2020. That's what I can remember this very clearly. So it's a problem right now. And I mean, I don't understand. Like, okay, there's always these budget negotiations. They happen all the time. It happens in D.C. It happens in a lot of states. Usually it's hammered out after a couple weeks. 90 days, that's 25% of the year. You got schools going back to session. And, I mean, Michigan's facing a potential government shutdown right now. I mean, there's a lot of problems here. So
don't we have a $3 million like little surplus fund? I'm not saying, it should all fall on us and pay everything, but we have the $7 billion rainy day fund and a $3 billion surplus. Can everybody just pay a little bit and agree?
I mean, you would think, but I mean, unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, the SEPTA cuts were the same thing, where that's so essential to Philadelphia and the Philadelphia area, and 40% of the tax revenue comes from the greater Philadelphia area for the state, but they wanted to cut it. So, and you're right, there is a substantial budget surplus as of today. And they just completed the fiscal year June 30th. There's a general fund balance and a budget stabilization fund, commonly known as the rainy day fund, which you talked about. The rainy day fund has $7 billion. Mm-hmm. The general fund has $3 to $4 billion with a B. So the state's projected to collect $321 million in revenue than originally estimated for the fiscal year 24-25. So they're in a good spot. And when you got that kind of surplus, I mean, you'd think there'd be a little more money to go around. So I don't really get what the hang up is. Yeah,
that's exactly what I thought. I don't know. We're not in Washington, but it's just so aggravating. Everybody has to pay for it.
Well, and I think the thing to think about here when it comes to real estate is that, we need to be mindful of when's this going to happen? Like, how's that going to impact real estate? So, I mean, that's if there is a hike in taxes, that increases people's monthly payments. So, I mean, this is where you want to maybe get in touch with your
buyers.
Well, not with your buyers, your local politicians, tell them to pass the budget. That would be my advice, at least. So,
that's a great idea.
All that in mind. So, I mean, we'll see what happens here. Hopefully, next time we're on the show, they'll have this passed. So we got 2 great new listings coming to the market this week, and then we'll wrap things up. So the first one is at 345 Ellis Road in Havertown. This is being shown by appointment only. So you want to get in there, you can click on the link. We can schedule a tour for you. It's a 2,500 square foot single family home, 4 beds, 2.5 baths, 2,500 square feet. It's on 4/10 of an acre. And this home is in prime condition. I mean, it's got an 8-car driveway, circular drive, attached garage. You can move right in there. This place is immaculate. Hardwood floors, new kitchen. It's going to be tough to find a nicer property than this in Havertown, and it's in great, great shape. That's being offered at $650,000, 345 Ellis Road in Havertown. The other new listing we have coming to the market, Amy, this is in your neck of the woods in Media. So it's 34 Old Mill Drive being offered at $1.399 million. It's in Rose Tree Estates. You familiar with this neighborhood? That's not too
Yes.
far from you. So what do you think about the neighborhood? Tell us about that. I mean, you live up that way.
I love it. What I love the most about the neighborhood, number one, it's just so welcoming when you pull in. There's so many nice homes, similar homes, but so welcoming, and you're so close to downtown Media, Route 1, 476, a hop, jump, and a skip. You got the 2 train options right there. This will not sit long. This is an incredible listing. 1.399. Yeah, on the higher side, but let me tell you, it's got everything. And above square footage, like 4,500 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, brick exterior. Yeah, I think one of the nicest parts is the surrounding area and what you can get in that neighborhood, because it's such a prestigious neighborhood.
Yeah, and the thing I like about this neighborhood is it's right by the 476 Route 1 exchange. You're only a couple minutes from Media, and this home is heavily, heavily upgraded. They put in a lot of money into this place. So it's not a place you're going to have to do a lot of work or renovation. This is also being shown by appointment. And we've got 2 open houses there this weekend. We got one on Saturday from 1 to 3. That's October the 4th, and one Sunday, 1 to 3. 1.399 million, 74 Old Mill Drive in Media. Great opportunity, 2 great opportunities in Havertown and Media to find a single family property. So
Yeah.
that's all we got this week, Amy. Where can people follow you on Instagram? What's your Instagram handle?
At Amy Quachari.
So why don't you spell that for everybody?
AMY, last name _QUACIARI.
All right, so we'll give Amy a follow here. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD on Instagram. Hopefully you got some value out of the show. If you did, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.